Hey, where are you? What are you doing? My mom is in trouble. The voice on the answering machine belonged to my husband. My mother-in-law had collapsed and needed to be rushed to the hospital by ambulance. As I prepared for her hospitalization by opening the wardrobe in her room, I stumbled upon an unbelievable picture of my husband and sister-in-law. The sight of the photo left me in shock, and I fled to my parents' house in a daze. 3 years had passed since I met my husband, but it felt like I had been deceived for a long time. He didn't love me, he just wanted a wife. I couldn't forgive him, and I decided to divorce him. My name is Sarah. I'm 32 years old, and I work at a beauty salon. 4 years ago, I was in a hurry to get married as my friends and colleagues were tying the knot one after another. I wanted to marry before I turned 30. Listening to my married friends talk about their husbands and children made me feel envious and impatient. Even though I smiled and listened, I often cried on my way home, feeling gloomy and left out. With only 2 years left in my 20s, I decided to fully commit to finding a marriage partner. I tried everything, dating apps, marriage activity parties, but finding the right person was tough. The men I liked weren't interested in marriage, and I couldn't seem to find anyone suitable. I didn't think my standards were too high, but nothing worked out. Desperate, I registered with a marriage agency despite the cost. I hoped to meet someone genuinely interested in marriage. That's when I met Ken. He was 5 years older than me, refreshingly handsome, and worked at a prestigious company. From the moment I saw his profile, I felt he was the one. Ken wanted to get married as soon as possible, just like me. When we first met, he was exactly as his profile described, polite and nice. I shared with him that I had little education or work experience but enjoyed housework. Ken smiled and said he was too busy with work to take care of the house. So he wanted to marry someone like me. I was flattered and thrilled. Ken lived alone with his mother, who had a chronic illness, and he explained that she would need to live with us if we got married. I was surprised but appreciated his honesty. Working in a beauty salon, I was used to dealing with older women and felt confident about living with my future mother-in-law. I wanted to know Ken better, and as we went on more dates, my feelings for him deepened. Eventually, I met Ken's mother. She was petite and charming, and we hit it off immediately, sharing a love for sweets. Sarah, you're too good for Ken. You don't need to worry about living with me. I have a chronic illness, but I don't need nursing care. Next time, let's go out for parfait instead of this nice restaurant, she said warmly. Living with her no longer seemed daunting. Ken and I began dating with marriage in mind, and despite his busy schedule, he always made time for me. We traveled together and spent quality time with each other. My impression of him remained positive. He was as refreshing as when we first met. Ken's mother and I became good friends, often going out for sweets together. Despite her illness, she was full of energy. Sometimes, I even forgot the age difference between us. She confided in me about her past, including her 2 divorces and the challenges she faced. After dating for about 6 months, Ken and I got married. I was thrilled that we managed to get married just before we turned 30. I was genuinely happy that all my hard work on marriage activities had paid off. We quickly registered our marriage and started preparing to live together. Then, one day, my husband told me there was something important he needed to discuss with me. I felt a bit uneasy, wondering what it could be. I never told you this before, but I have a sister, Hannah, who is not related to me by blood, he said. At first, I didn't quite understand. Hannah was my husband's stepfather's daughter. My mother-in-law and father-in-law had divorced 5 years ago, and my father-in-law had since passed away. Hannah had no family. My mother-in-law and Hannah didn't get along well, so she never visited. However, my husband was worried about Hannah, who had no family, and kept in touch with her. I'd like to invite her to the wedding, but my mom is against it. Still, Hannah means a lot to me, and I want you to meet her at least once, he explained. I was curious about what kind of person my kind mother-in-law could dislike so much. But seeing how much my husband cared about his family, I agreed to meet her. Nice to meet you, Sarah. I'm Hannah, she said. She was beautiful and had a flamboyant look. She worked at a bar, and I couldn't understand why my mother-in-law disliked her. Hannah was pleasant and made our meeting enjoyable. When Ken was in middle school and I was in high school, we started living together. Isn't it like a comic book, suddenly becoming a family? She said, reminiscing about their past. Ken made fast-paced quips about her stories, and they seemed like a perfect pair, almost like a couple. It was clear she was dear to my husband. "Sarah, I'm sorry I couldn't make it to your wedding." "Be a good wife," Hannah said as we parted. "Don't tell my mother about today. If she gets angry, it'll be a pain in the butt," Ken said on the way home. I didn't know the details of the conflict between my mother-in-law and Hannah, but I decided it was none of my business. I kept the meeting to myself. Life started for the three of us. Ken was busy with work and often came home late. On his days off, we would sometimes go out with my mother-in-law. I was also working, so I did the housework with my mother-in-law's help, and we often went out for sweets or to see a movie together. By all accounts, we were a happy family. However, I did worry about my mother-in-law because sometimes, when she wasn't feeling well, she would sleep all day. I tried to keep in touch with her frequently while I was at work. The only thing that bothered me was that Ken was always on his phone. He was constantly doing something on it, even bringing it into the bath. Initially, I thought he was just addicted to games, but it became so frequent that I started to worry. One time, he called to say he was heading out, and I called him back because I wanted him to get me something at the convenience store. His phone was engaged the whole time, and I couldn't get through to him. When he came back, I confronted him. "Ken, I've been calling you all day," I said. "Sorry, I got a call from the company," he replied. We had just gotten married, and I didn't think it was possible he was cheating on me, but I couldn't help being curious. My mother-in-law didn't seem bothered by his behavior, treating it as normal. One day, I felt guilty but glanced at the screen of his phone. I saw that he was texting someone. It seemed they talked often. One night, Ken came home late, and I couldn't help but wonder who he was talking to in the middle of the night. "Hey, who do you always talk with in the middle of the night?" I asked, trying to sound playful after my mother-in-law had gone to bed. Ken seemed unbothered by my question. "It's my sister. Did you suspect me of cheating on you?" "Don't worry," he laughed. I laughed along with him, feeling a bit foolish for worrying so much. From then on, I didn't mind how much he was on his phone, but he was always busy with work and didn't have much time for me. I felt a bit uncomfortable with him spending nearly all his free time talking to Hannah. 2 years later, life with the three of us was going well. My mother-in-law and I often visited the sweet shop whenever it opened. "Today's pancakes might be the best pancakes of all time," she said. I was thinking the same thing. "I can't wait to try them with you," I replied. To any outsider, we looked like mother and daughter. I never felt self-conscious about living together, and I loved my mother-in-law. Ken was still busy with work and came home late, always glued to his phone. I had gotten used to it and didn't say anything. I wasn't asking him to do the housework, but I did have small complaints. If he had time to contact Hannah, he could at least put his socks in the laundry. However, when Ken had time off, he made sure to spend it with us, never forgetting to celebrate our wedding anniversary or my birthday. Despite the small complaints, we were a happy family. Then one day, my mother-in-law was sick and spent the day in bed. I was worried and checked on her several times. She seemed to sleep quietly during the day, but in the evening, she complained, "Sarah, I'm in pain." She was breathing hard. I called an ambulance in a hurry, and it arrived immediately. I rode with her to the hospital. I was relieved to find out that she wasn't in critical condition. I called Ken to let him know she would be hospitalized for a while. He left work early to come to the hospital, and I went home to pack for a few days' stay with her. When I returned home, I opened the wardrobe in my mother-in-law's room to find her insurance card and personal seal. She had said they were in the top drawer, but I couldn't find them. So I opened the bottom drawer and found a small box. Thinking it might contain the insurance card, I opened it and found a large number of photographs inside. I was so shocked when I saw them that I went to the bathroom and threw up. There were pictures of Ken and Hannah, not as brother and sister, but as lovers. They were holding hands and kissing. Feeling sick, I closed the box. It was painful to think about how close Ken had been with Hannah all this time. My mind went blank, and the next thing I knew, I was running to my parents' house with the box in my arms. At my parents' house, my mother was surprised to see me. When she saw what was in the box, she hugged me. After crying for a while, I calmed down. "These pictures of Ken and another woman, is he cheating?" she asked. My mother was shocked when I told her it was Hannah, and that the photos were in my mother-in-law's wardrobe. I hadn't even told my mother about my sister-in-law. "I can't live with him anymore," I said. "Of course you can't live with him. I can't allow it," my mother replied, angry as well. When I looked at my phone, I saw a lot of missed calls from Ken and a voicemail message that said, "Hey, where are you? What are you doing? Your mother is in trouble." The message was angry. I thought, asterisk, I'm the one who should be angry, asterisk. I turned off my phone because talking about it would remind me of the pictures and make me sick. The next day, out of the goodness of my heart, I contacted him. "There's something I need to talk to you about this evening. I'll be there with my mother, so please call Hannah," I told him. "Thank goodness she's alive. What were you going to say when my mother was in trouble?" He started blabbing on and on. "Please do. I'll see you tonight," I said and hung up the phone. I went to my mother-in-law's hospital room. She looked at me happily and called my name. "I'm sorry you're not feeling well, mother-in-law, but I need to hear the truth," I said, opening the box I found in her wardrobe and showing it to her, her eyes filled with tears. "Sarah, I am so sorry," she began. "Ken, Hannah is the stepdaughter of my ex-husband. 5 years ago, she told me they were lovers, even though they're not related by blood. They're both my children, and I told them I couldn't allow it. Hannah got angry and left the house, and I never saw her again. I should have told you, but those are old photos. Don't worry, I don't even know what Hannah is doing now, and I'm sure she's not in contact with Ken," she said. Her eyes were sincere. She didn't seem to be lying. "Ken is still in contact with Hannah. In fact, he introduced me to her once years ago," I replied. My mother-in-law shed another tear. "But you're already married," she said. "I'm sorry. You did nothing wrong, but I can't be a family with Ken anymore. I'm going to divorce him." "Don't apologize to me. It's my fault for not noticing." "I'm sorry," she said. I couldn't stop crying either. I left the hospital room and went to the house where my mother, Ken, and Hannah were waiting. When I arrived, they were all there. I sat down and immediately showed them the pictures. "You two are lovers, and I'm divorcing you," I declared. Ken didn't seem offended. "Oh yes, that's right. But as a family member and as a lover, they are two different things. We were happy as a family, weren't we? Mom was happy too. What's wrong with that? We don't have to get divorced," he said with his usual fresh smile. Hannah added, "I'm sorry I didn't tell you, but I have no intention of destroying your family. I don't think divorce is necessary." I trembled with anger. "Don't be silly. This is cheating. How can I be family with someone like that?" I yelled. "Well, don't be so loud. If you want a divorce, that's fine. I've done my duty as a family member. Since you're the one who initiated it, it's an amicable divorce," Ken said. "What? What's amicable about this? This is a huge betrayal. I'm going to charge both of you alimony." "Oh, okay, that's fine. I'll pay as much money as you want. In return, don't tell my mother. As to the reason for the divorce, let's just call it a personality conflict." "I've already told your mother everything." She was crying. "I told her we're getting a divorce." "What? Why would you do that?" Ken lost his composure and shouted. Hannah cried, "Why did you tell her?" "My lawyer will contact you about the alimony, so goodbye," I said, leaving the house with my mother. My mother hugged me. "You did a great job," she said. I cried loudly into her chest. Now I knew that Ken never cared about me. He just wanted a wife to reassure his mother. I wanted to marry him too, and maybe we were happy as a family. But I can't forgive myself for not knowing I had been betrayed since the beginning. I'm glad I realized it now and was able to get a divorce. Later, through my lawyer, the divorce was successfully finalized. I requested alimony from Ken and Hannah, but Hannah didn't have any money and was angry at Ken for only paying his share. Their relationship deteriorated, and they decided to separate. Hannah started working lunch and dinner shifts at the bar where she originally worked to pay the alimony. After she was discharged from a hospital, my mother-in-law was angry with Ken and told him that if he saw Hannah even once in the future, she would cut ties with him. My mother-in-law and I still keep in touch and occasionally go out for sweets. I'm relieved that she is out of the hospital and seems to be in good health. I now live with my parents and am busy preparing for the reopening of the beauty salon where I used to work. When things settle down a bit more, I'll start living alone again. I'm no longer envious when I hear about my friends who are married. Until the day comes when I meet someone wonderful again, I'll keep working hard.